just like that. We're back, my friends. How the hell are you? Get my microphone straight. Fix the camera. There we go. Thursday, July 19th. Big fat coffee cheers to you. My new coffee cup of doom. Hope you're doing well. Thanks for tuning back in. It's been a little while. I want to tell you a story that happened a week or two ago. I can't remember the exact date, but it's the date that will always be remembered as the great Los Angeles heat wave of 2018. Oh. What happened was, a couple days after 4th of July, Los Angeles, California hit record temperatures. Gotta be records. And before we even get into this, if you live in Arizona or if you live in Afghanistan, these heat temperatures might not be too hot to you, but it's all relative. When you live in California, 50 degrees feels cold. If you live in Iceland, 50 degrees feels like summer. No comments with, "That's not hot, bro. I live out here in Arizona. It's like 130, man. You guys in California are weak. Come and live here for 10 years. And then let me know how you feel." Where was I? A couple days after the 4th of July. I almost went to Ada, Oklahoma for the 4th of July, but one of the reasons I didn't go, well, was because I just didn't feel like it. But number two, I figured it'd be 1,000 degrees and humid, and I didn't really want to deal with that. Some of my worst Oklahoma trips have been on 4th of July. You're just sweating, covered in sweat and humidity, watching fireworks go off. And it's fun, but, you know, not really what I'm looking for. I need to move this. Bear with me. There we go. I like to have it just right. A little OCD. But anyway, where was I? So I decided to stay in LA, and I was looking at my phone's weather app on my iPhone, looking at Oklahoma's weather, and then I looked at LA's weather for the same time period. And a few days after the 4th of July, I can't remember the exact date, but the phone weather app said it was going to be 112 degrees. And for LA, it's about 30 or 40 degrees hotter than it usually is. So even if 112 degrees isn't hot to you, imagine it's 40 degrees hotter than what you're used to, and that's what it would feel like. So if you live in a place and the weather's 120, imagine it's 150, 160. It's hot, shockingly hot. And as that day rolled up, the heat wave struck. I remember walking out the door. My phone said 110, 111 in the morning. And I thought, there's no way. I walked outside, and it was like walking into an oven. It was like being on another planet. It was like being on a planet that was inside of an oven, inside of a microwave, inside of a sandstorm. Because the wind was blowing heavy. Dust, leaves, things flying everywhere. The sky looked yellow. The air looked yellow. The heat was so intense. I could only stay outside for a few minutes at a time, and I'd have to come back inside. And it kept rising. And, you know, when things like this happens, when it rains, everyone in LA, we text each other and go, "Oh, God, this rain's amazing," right? Because when you live here, you don't get weather. You don't have seasons. You have, like, sunny and 75. So when it rains, you text each other. When it gets hot, you start texting each other. And we were all texting each other going, "Oh, my God, you know, it's 85 degrees in my apartment with the AC on." And I'm responding like, "Yeah, it's 78 here. I've got mine set at 72, and it was 78 in the house." A little while later, as the temperatures increased and more people turned on their air conditioners, the entire power grid went out in Los Angeles. Most of it. Not all of it, but a lot of it. The way that I found out about it was that a friend of mine who I've known a long time, Oklahoma guy who I've been co-writing music with, texted me earlier in the day, saying, hey man, it's 85 in our apartment and we've, the AC just can't keep up. And we were laughing like, yeah, it's going to be crazy. Stay cool or whatever. And then about 30 minutes later, he texted me and he said, hey bro, do you have power? So what do you mean? He said, our power's out. The temperature's now 90 something, 95. He said that's where it maxed out. It wouldn't go any higher. So it might have been 100. He didn't know. I said, oh my God, dude, I still have power for some reason. He's probably 2 minutes from my house, a 2-minute drive, 3-minute drive, mile or two, 3. So I said, look, man, jump in the car, grab you, your wife, and your dog. He said his dog was laying on the carpet, like non-responsive. I said, grab everything. Grab a toothbrush, whatever you need, and just come over here and you guys can stay with me as long as you need to. I have this big house now with 2 extra bedrooms that I'm not using. I have all this space, couches, all this stuff. We'll make it work. And he said, nah, he's like me. He don't want to bother you. He said, I don't know, man. He said, anyway, the electricity's out, so our car is locked in the parking garage of our non-powered apartment building. I said, oh my God. I was going to go pick them up, but then I started reading stories online. I got online to Google what was happening, and sure enough, the power grid was out. And people were posting on Twitter about here where I live, in the town I live in, this little area. Their cars were exploding going up hills. They were catching on fire. So I said, I can't come pick you up because I'm afraid my car will explode, but catch an Uber or a Lyft. And he said, I might take you up on it. And ultimately, as the hours went by and the heat kept rising, he finally said, we're going to have to do it. We're going to have to come over. And his building managed to get their parking garage open, so they were able to get in their car and come over. And we figured we were going to have an evening here at my house, right, with AC. And then the power would come back on. They kept saying 2 hours, 3 hours it'd be back on, of course. And the power company is called DWP. They're a monopoly. There's no other word for it. There's no other option in the area for power, so you either pay them or you don't have power. Water. All of it. Absolute monopoly. So as they were posting updates, they were doing a really bad job at updating their customers. They kept saying, at 6 o'clock they said it was going to come on at 8. Then at 8:30 they would say it's going to come on at 11. Then at 11 they'd come on and say it was going to be 2 a.m., tweeting and posting things on their websites. So instead of it being an evening at Malan's house, laughing and talking for a few hours and they go back home, it turned into you're going to need to spend the night. And luckily, they had brought an overnight bag with some things just in case, and we had a sleepover because the electricity wasn't going to be on until 2 in the morning. We thought, we'll just sleep here. I gave him my room. I slept in a guest room because the guest room has a really small bed and my room has a huge bed and a lot of space. They had 2 people and a dog. So you guys take my room. I'll sleep in the guest room and we'll just make it work. Tomorrow you can go home. Hopefully everything's okay. And so we stayed up to about 11 o'clock that night, went to bed, woke up the next morning and no updates. Now they were saying it was going to be 9 in the morning, then noon, then 2. Then they were saying it might be the next day. So we had to kind of acknowledge that this situation wasn't going to get any better, because what happened was DWP is a national company, right? And they run LA. So they're called DWP here, and they have a power structure here that's just not equipped to handle the amount of usage that happens when everyone turns on their ACs at once in LA. Millions, tens of millions of people all at once. They're not set up for it for some reason. I don't know how you get to be a power company in a place this big and not be prepared for that kind of a situation. But whatever. Normally people here don't even turn on your air conditioners. They usually come on for a few weeks in the summer and that's it. So when millions of people turned their ACs on at once, their entire grid blew out. 50,000 people without electricity. Day 2, there were still 40,000 people without electricity. People's dogs were passing out. Elderly people were passing out. You know, it was getting really bad, like a natural disaster. They posted updates throughout the day. They tried to call it a heat storm. They said this unexpected heat storm. There's no such thing as a heat storm. It got hot. Everyone turned on their ACs, and your power grid blew out. There's no heat storm. A natural disaster. It's not a heat storm. It's just summer. But anyway, not that I'm mad or anything. But anyway, we spent the entire day watching the temperatures go up and up and up. 112, 115. At one point, on the second day, I think it was, we went to the mall just to get out of the house and go do something. And at the mall, the sign outside read 116 degrees. And half the area is out with no power, no air conditioning, so everyone was at the mall. We got to the mall, and it was a mob house. It was a madhouse. 116, 118 degrees outside, and everyone was in there just kind of drinking ice-cold drinks and hanging out in the air conditioning. But we ended up spending, you know, by the time we got home from the mall on the second day, it was pretty clear that the power was not coming back on anytime soon. And they went back to their apartment, emptied out the freezer, brought it all back here, salvaged what they could. Everything was fine, they said, in the freezer. Refrigerator was a total disaster. But we jammed all their food in my freezer, hung out and tried to make it fun. What did we do? I forget exactly what we did, but these are some of my old friends, really sweethearts, really good people. And I really don't like waking up with people around me, but I like hanging out with really good people around me. Like let me rephrase that. I don't like waking up with shitty people around me who are annoying. I like waking up with people who are nice. That's a fantastic feeling. I actually had a really fun time having them as guests. That's the big differentiator. You know, when you wake up with someone who just wants to be entertained, taken care of, tries to break you out of your routine, it's like, man, I can't do it. I can't do it. But when you wake up with sweet people around you, nice people, courteous people, kind people, it's a whole different thing. So I want to make that clear. I don't dislike people. I dislike stupid people, annoying people, people who are selfish and all of that. But these guys are great. So we actually had a great time. And after 2.5 days of hanging out, wondering if the power was ever going to come back on, it finally did. It finally did. I think it was the afternoon of the third day that the power finally came back on, and they were able to go back to their place and begin, you know, the cleaning of the refrigerator, the throwing away of all their groceries and milk or whatever was in the refrigerator, all bad, all gone. But we all survived. I think the hottest I saw it was about 120 degrees. I don't know if it's ever been 120 degrees since I've been here. I've been here 10 years. I don't know if that's ever happened. But it happened. Is it global warming? I don't know. Maybe it's Trump's fault. He's been in office for a year. Surely he's caused global warming in 365 days. Let's blame him. Maybe it was God. Maybe God's angry at Los Angeles for all the heathens that live here. And it's trying to strike us down. Whatever voodoo you believe in. Maybe that's what it is. But it was brutal, dude. But it's gone. We're back to normal. And it's been a while. I meant to make this video about a week ago, but I just haven't sat down and done it. I've been doing other things. Working on music, running campaigns, living my life. Having some fun from time to time. Watching movies. But I meant to tell you this story before because it was unbelievable. And what it reminded me of was just how fragile society is, especially in these monster cities like New York, LA, wherever, Dallas, Texas, places where millions upon millions of people are piled on top of each other. And if the power goes down, in a matter of maybe 48, 72 hours, it would be mass chaos. If the entire state went, even if just Los Angeles went down for 72 hours, no power anywhere, no computers, no internet, nothing, no services, no phones, nothing. You'd have like a war would break out. It'd be survival of the fittest, martial law. People would be shooting each other with machine guns. People would be breaking into homes to steal food. it could happen that quick. Really reminded me of how fragile we are. I mean, even if just the power went out, just electricity or water, or we ran out of gasoline, or even if just the internet stopped working, someone cut the wire or something, civilization as we know it would be at risk of crumbling. It's so hilarious because we all act like that's not the case. We've got it all figured out. But all it would take is one simple change. Someone cut the line, all the power goes out in the country. 3 days into it, people would be eating each other. It's kind of an odd, strange feeling to know that we're hanging in that kind of a balance sometimes. But let's not think about that because what can you do? Speaking of being eaten, oh wow, there is a huge hawk circling the sky right now. He must see a dead rabbit or something. I live out here in the woods now. And today I woke up this morning and I felt movement out of the corner of my eye, so my body twitched, right? I thought I saw a fox running from my back door to my bedroom door and then around the corner. And it turned out it wasn't a fox. I jumped up, grabbed my Instagram, or my phone, opened up Instagram, and I videoed this thing. It was a coyote. See him? There was a coyote hanging out on my back porch, scanning the wall for donuts. And what I realized, for the last several weeks, maybe even a month, I've been leaving food and treats and trinkets and things for the crows and the ravens, hoping to make friends with them, get to know them. Maybe they'll bring me a treat sometime. Maybe I'll get to touch one day. I don't know. It's my dream. And I think some of the times, sometimes I watch the birds take the food, but I think the coyotes have caught on. And this guy was scanning my porch, and he scanned the wall. He ran along the wall right where I leave the donuts, and he was scanning for food. So that game might be over. I'm not terrified of coyotes. They don't attack humans often, but I'd much prefer to hang out with the birds than coyotes. But that was this morning. I woke up with coyotes. So we had a heat wave, nearly caused the end of times. And this morning I wake up and the coyotes are circling my bedroom door. Things are getting freaky out here in the woods, guys. Stay tuned. I'll let you know if there's an attack. An attack of some kind. I wake up and there's a werewolf in my room. Stranger things have happened, man. But otherwise, things are good. I'm glad you tuned in today to hear the story of the great LA heat wave. You can Google it, look it up. It was just a few weeks ago. I don't remember the date specifically, but it was mass chaos, man. People's pets were dying. Some people didn't have places to go. You know, my friends luckily are great people and they had plenty of places to go, but they said there were people in their building, older folks, who were just hanging out in the hallway waiting for it to end, you know. And they saw them when they went back to clean out the refrigerator and stuff, and they let them borrow a fan, like a battery-powered fan, and some bottled water, like they didn't know what to do. That's when it gets dangerous. I remember hearing in Oklahoma every summer, elderly people would die in their homes because they didn't want to turn the AC on to save money, or they didn't have AC, and they would try to just sit there with an iced tea and a little fan and try to sweat it out, and they would just die. So it gets really dangerous. So I'm glad, you know, nothing happened to anyone that I know personally. I probably need to Google and see if anyone died. I would guess someone did. Definitely some pets. But you never know what's going to happen, man. Coyotes, kangaroos. What if I woke up and a kangaroo was here? That'd be interesting. I'm lost. Time to go. Otherwise, things are good. There's a hummingbird flying by, and there's a bird up in that tree that just landed. I love living out here. Best idea I've had in a long time was leaving Hollywood and coming to the hills where I belong. I think there's something, when you're born in the woods, you just feel more comfortable in the woods. I'd much rather deal with coyotes, ravens, crows, and lizards, squirrels. I even had a rat show up the other night. Big rat. I still prefer that to the actual mental patients / homeless people wandering the streets of Hollywood like zombies with weapons, stabbing people sometimes. Like, really? I would rather have lions and tigers trying to get over my wall than to deal with that. One of the best moves I ever made. And if you've been watching this channel for long enough, you'll remember those days. Just go backwards. Go look at some of the older videos and you'll see. A beautiful apartment in the sky in one of the worst neighborhoods ever. But you know, you live and you learn. Sometimes in summer you burn. I was trying to come up with a rhyme. And that's the last thing I'll say. I've been writing a ton of music. Speaking of rhymes, I've been writing a ton of music with my same friend who had to come over here and crash for a few days. He's a friend I've known since I was living in Oklahoma. And just last week we were writing a song, and as I was typing the lyrics out into my app on my phone, I started tearing up. And I was laughing to him. I said, man, I'm starting to tear up just writing these words. What are we doing? This is ridiculous. Because the songs we're writing, everything I'm writing lately is the saddest music I've ever heard. And I think it's a good thing. I said, I don't know why I'm tearing up right now. He said, because you're tapping into an emotion, like you're feeling something. These words mean something to you. And he said, well, that's a good thing, because that means there's a chance they'll mean things to other people too. I said, I guess you're right. I'd rather listen to, I love sad music, sad, beautiful music. And I think to write that kind of music, you have to, or poetry or art or books or whatever, to write really intensely deep anything. To create that kind of art, you have to have gone through hard times, because that's where you get those emotions and those words and those stories and those ideas. And I've always been a big fan of that. Never been a big fan of popular, like, happy music. Like, I tried to listen to Taylor Swift, her new album the other day. I gave it a shot. Some of it was more listenable than I thought it would be, but it was overall just really good pop music. And to me, the category pop in general, even when well done, is garbage. It's kind of goofy music for the general public. And, you know, for me, I'm more into Sinead O'Connor, like when she came out. Heartbreaking music. Terrifyingly sad vocals. And later in life, she suffered tremendously with mental illness and had a lot of public breakdowns on Facebook and YouTube. And when I saw that happen, I thought, yeah, no wonder she was able to sing like that. Or Tracy Chapman, you know, grew up in poverty, I believe. Really struggled and wrote music about it. Heartbreaking music, man. Perry Farrell from Jane's Addiction. When I first heard them, I thought something is wrong with these guys. And I identified with that sadness. Then years and years later, I found out that I believe his mother committed suicide when he was 3 or something, a kid. And then I found out Dave Navarro's mom was murdered when he was a kid, and it made total sense. Like, that's why that music made sense to me. It was incredible because those guys had severe traumatic events happen, and they write about it. And I mean, I don't want to be like condescending to people who have lived a carefree life, but to me, it makes people a little deeper, a little more artistic, and better poets, better artists, better singers if you've struggled. So if you're struggling, or if you've been through struggles in your childhood, you can use that. It doesn't have to be a bad thing. It can be a good thing. But we'll save that for another video. For now, I just wanted to share that we've been writing some heartbreakingly sad music. We've recorded a few demos. I'm going to start recording more soon. And then the shows, live shows can start to happen. That's going to be fun. I actually talked to another friend of mine that I've known for a long time, and she sometimes books shows around LA. And I talked to her about booking some shows, and that's going to start happening. And I'm excited, man. Terrified, but excited. It's time. I took enough time off doing silly things like YouTube channels and blog posts and all that instead of making music. But that's it. 10:52. Thank you for tuning in. As always, cue the outro music. And let's wrap it up. Have a great day. Be sure to drop a like, a comment, a subscribe, or whatever they say on YouTube these days. Let me know how you've been. Let me know how your summer's going. If you got caught up in a heat wave. Love to hear the story. Google the power outage in Sherman Oaks, Los Angeles, Studio City, those areas. You'll see the stories. It was pretty big news for about two and a half days. It felt like the end of the world. But, you know, sometimes Most times, all times, it's not the end of the world. No matter how bad things seem, it's not the end of the world, man. You wake up in the morning, or maybe it takes a few days. You wake up and things are back to normal. Things are good. I think the key is not getting lost in the momentary feeling of dread that things are never going to get better, because they always do. Sometimes they get worse before they get better, but that's the game. If you live long enough, you'll figure it out. Speaking of, coffee cheers on the way out. Boom. Have a wonderful day. And as always, I will see you in the future.